This is just a little follow-up from last week's video on cutting this fuel tank up. Some of the comments said, you know, you could clean it out and things like that. Yes, I could. But the problem is, I've got the tank here. It's these baffles. And how are you going to clean it out? Because remember, you've only got a small hole in the top and a small on the side. And it's very difficult to see inside. It's not the reason why I cut it up, but once you see these baffles, you understand it's not like a tank without a baffle, where you could keep rinsing it and rinsing it. Because if you get stuff trapped in here, you can see the holes here and here in the corner where fuel gets in, that you don't want to get dirt and muck in there and not being able to get it out. You'll just concentrate it all in one place, is what I'm trying to say. It makes it very difficult. Now, I've got the old sender here, and this is why these tanks have got a little dip in there, because that's where the sender fits in its lowest point. And this is just like what do they call them, a swirl pot. Like in racing cars, they have what's called a swirl pot, so when you're going around corners, you've got a constant amount of fuel in a small area, and it will not swish around the tank. Because if these baffles weren't in, and if you went uphill like this, and you're getting low on fuel, and your sender's here, and all your fuel goes to the back, well, you're going to run out of fuel. So that's what this is for. Now, what I wanted to say was, if it weren't for that baffle, then yes, I would have a go at cleaning it and stuff like this. Now, many years ago with my Series 1, if you can remember from last week, the series tanks were renowned for leaking because they had a steel plate around the bottom of the tank, like a shield, was soldered or welded onto the bottom of the tank, and water used to get in and corrode the bottom. But they had no baffles in the tank, so you could wash it all out, things like this, but what did you do for sealing it? Well, I could have sent it down to a shop and had a new bottom put into it, and they would have steam cleaned it, welded a new plate on, and then they go around it with like an epoxy resin on the outside, which is okay, but it was kind of expensive. But I wanted to experiment with this product here, and it is the dog's testicles. This is Caswell gas tank sealer. It comes in a 2-part mix, right? So you mix in proportion. What's the mix? I can't remember. I think it's 1:1. All right, 32 ounces, 16 ounces. So it's 2 parts this, 1 part that. All right. So it's not 1:1. Don't pull me up on that. It is brilliant stuff if you've got no baffles, because on my Series 1, I didn't know what to mix that up to, and I put too much in. But it wasn't a big deal. But what it is, it's a slow set epoxy. Now, usually epoxies, you know, you need fast setting epoxies if you're doing some repairs or something like this. This is a slow set. So what you do is you mix up your 2:1 mix, pour it in, and then rotate the tank. So everything inside is coated. Everything, and it's really good. It does seal up leaks, and it doesn't bother with petrol, but it gives you time to rotate your tank, leave it a few minutes, turn it this way, because it's very viscous. It's thick, sticky stuff, if you see what I mean, and it takes time to move. Now, this would be a problem with this tank here because of these holes here. Because if you got some of that stuff into these holes and it blocked them off, it's not going to fill up that pot anymore, if you see what I mean. There's a hole here on the side which is kind of high, but that would be a limit of your fuel. So as soon as you've used all the fuel in here, you're relying on this hole here to fill it up. But like I say, it would be so easy for that to get blocked up, believe me. And that's the last thing you want. So that's why I was sort of cautious, and for the price of a tank, I'll just bang another one on. You know, I just put another one on. To me, it's not worth the hassle of doing a job twice. You know it's bad, you know it's dented, you know it's bad. So that was the reason why. Somebody asked me to weld it up, use it again. Well, I don't know, how long do you live, eh? Cost me more in time to weld it up than it would actually be worth. Sad old world, isn't it? But there you go. But yes, you could have washed it out, but you couldn't guarantee everything was out, because once you've washed out a tank and it's got trapped debris, the first thing it's going to do is get sucked into your fuel filter, and you just don't want that. And this is why we had problems once before, and I mentioned it about these senders picking up leaves and bits of paper in here because it can't get out. You think about it. If you've got a piece of leaf floating around in the tank, and believe me, the Defender fillers are so big, anything can get down there whilst you're filling up your fuel. You know, you leave your cap off or something like this, gets all sorts of muck in it. I've had countless cars with leaves in tanks, but it gets into this chamber here and it can't get out. The only time it gets out is when it goes over the top into somewhere else. And many years ago I had a Land Rover with that problem, and it would go great, and the guy changed the injector pump, all the injectors, everything, changed everything, kept just cutting out. But when he left it and started again, it went fine. And what was happening was, and this is the reason why I cut these pipes like this, the leaf was getting sucked onto the end of the pipe through suction, naturally, and cut off the fuel supply. It would starve it, the engine would die. But when the engine died, off came the leaf, started up again, until next time. Now, it might happen the same day, it might happen in 6 months. Leaves are funny that way. It happened to my friend Wayne. He's a Jamaican guy from, he's in Toronto. And he decided to wash his Defender tank out and then dry it out with paper towels. That wasn't a good idea. Yeah man, he says, my Land Rover keeps breaking down. I just washed the tank out. And I said, well, so? I said, well, what did you do with it? He said, I dried it out, I put paper towels down the intake. And I said, did he get them out? He said, I don't think so. So it does happen. You know, you think of something quite innocent, but watch out for leaves. Anyway, that's a few little updates on this tank. If you've got a series tank that leaks, this is brilliant. Or a motorbike tank or something like that that hasn't got baffles in, it's brilliant. And I suppose even if it has got baffles in, but not in this particular instance, it will work. Alright, but am I going to risk that? I don't know. See you later. Bye.